Hi, it's KVSK here again, Kenneth. Yeah, I'm glad to bring to you again another tutorial for installing DHIS on Linux platform. I know since the last video I released on installing DHIS on Windows, I got a lot of feedback and people wanted for me to do a tutorial on how to install on Linux. So this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to do that, and I am happy that I was able to help some people navigate around the installation for Windows. So we'll go straight to the tutorial. Now for this, what we're going to do is we're just going to use the server installation tools, the DHIS2 server tools. So here we have, it's the repository is on GitHub, so you can have access to it. However, there are a few modifications we're going to make to this because when I did test this, had some errors with the postgres because of some issues, so we addressed that in here. All right, so yeah, let's go straight to the point. I'm going to just create a new instance. Today what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that the um, installation we are having, so example, I want to access this instance on a domain called, say, DHIS tutorial dot maxit.com. Currently, if I just do sorry, it has to be ping. If I do a ping to this domain, it's not reachable. Okay, so we're going to set the DHIS2 on this, and you can also do for your own domain. So let me just clear here, and now let's start. So the first thing we need is we're going to need a fresh instance of the of Linux server Ubuntu 22. That's what I'm using for this installation. So I'm using here Genesis Cloud. You can go and check them out. So here I will just create an instance here. I'll call this one DHIS tutorial, and I would go to utilize the CPU, and here I'm just going to set this. You can skip this stage if you already have a fresh instance of DHIS2 install it. I mean a fresh Linux server that you want to utilize for that. So we are using Ubuntu 22 for this, and I'm just going to put here password, but I will just, instead of SSH, and I would make that, copy it. Yeah, we just set the network. I had created some firewall rules. This is not needed for you. I need a static IP address, and I have memory 16 gig. Now I can make it to just 8. Yeah, I just need 8 gig is fine for this tutorial. I'll be using this for future tutorials. Okay, so I'm going to create that, and in a minute I should be able to have my virtual machine created for me, and we'll use it for installation. Okay, so you can skip this part if you have already your Linux server ready, fresh one. All right, I think we'll just fast forward this section. It will take some time to create the instance. Okay, so I have my DHIS2 instance ready, so we can start the tutorial. I wouldn't need this again. Well, I will need it. One thing you have to do is, you see the IP address of your server, you have to go and set the um, domain name where you want, how you want to access it. So in our case, we want to access it via, if I type in here, say DHIS tutorial maxit.com, I should be able to if I type in this, if everything is working. So this is what I want to do. So I will go to the domain for this and set an A record. So I have here, I will set start DHIS tutorial, and I will put the IP address of this server instance that I have here, which I am going to use for managing this. So I will enter that. It's an A record that we're creating actually. So just add that and update that. Let me just update the record. Okay, so we have that DNS record in there. We are going to use if you don't have that, you can skip all this section, which you can just access the instance from the IP address, but I want to have it, so I will just do a ping again to. So now it's updated. You can see the instance is pointing to this, IP address of the server that we just, the instance we just created here. Okay, so if you're not going to use a domain, please skip all these steps. We will not need these ones again. Now we can go to the installation. So first we access the instance. For this, it's going to be, I will just get it's SSH Ubuntu, then the IP address. So I'm going to open this in a big terminal and split screen, and I can have this. So here we just try to log in SSH, and yes, and so we need to provide a password to log in to access the server. Okay, yeah. So here we are logged into the server, and we would first try to switch to the root user because we logged in as Ubuntu. For this, I need to first change the root password by typing sudo password passwd then root, and I can provide a retype that. Okay, so I can now switch the user to root, and I can provide that password. Good. So now that we'll switch to the root user, here we can go to the root folder, and by pressing CD, and we have that there. Okay, so there's currently nothing here. The first thing we want to do is to update the server, so we can do that apt get update the repository, and we can start our installation. So from here, step one is saying is to enable the firewall, the UFW firewall, Let me clear this console here again. So it's to enable the firewall, but we have to allow port 22 in that. It should be actually by default. So we just say sudo ufw. Instead of limit here, I'm going to just put allow 22 so that you are not locked out from accessing your server. Then we can now enable that sudo ufw enable and yes, and that is now active. Okay, so we can clone this repository, git clone. That's the DHIS install tools. We can clone it, but before you begin the installation process, you should try to install. There is a package which is the cron tab we need to install first before we can run or deploy the DHIS. If you don't run the cron tab package, you're going to have issues that the postgres will not be able to start. Okay, so you would have an error in that. So for that, we just do the sudo apt-get install cron. Okay, so you need to install this for everything to work. It's not in this tutorial here. It's sudo, sorry, it says sudo. Okay, so it's not in the tutorial you have here, but this is needed for the installation to work successfully. All right, so we have cloned this repository. We need to create a copy of the host file from the template section, and clear. So we'll copy that, just run that command, and this run. Okay, so we will run this command here. Now we have a copy of that. We can edit the file itself. So this is where it is very important. So here you can use Vim, or you can use Nano, any text editor of your choice. I'm going to use Nano for this. So I'll type Nano and the path to the file. This is the repository we have cloned. In there you have this deploy, inventory, and post files which we copied. So inside here, this is the settings, for the configuration. One thing we need to do is we need to set the fully qualified domain name. So let me just close this again, Control X to close that. The fully qualified domain name is the host name that you have set on the server, which corresponds to the IP address. So since we are looking at having access to the DHIS2 installation from the URL DHIS-tutorial.maxit.com, we have to set that as the host name, which will be the fully qualified domain name, FQDN, right? So here, if we just type in host name to see what is currently set, what is set is just DHIS2 tutorial. So we can change this to DHIS2 tutorial.maxit.com, and that can be done by typing in host name CTL set host name, and we can provide a host name that we want to set. So we want to have DHIS tutorial .maxit.com. Okay, so there we have DHIS tutorial.maxit.com. Now if you type again hostname, you would see that that is set now. Okay, so we have set our host name. We need to go and modify. Let's go back to the host file that we've created for DHIS. So you have nano and to the path of the host file, and we can make modifications to this now. So I would use my tabs up and down to navigate around, and here you would see FQDN here. So I will put in DHIS tutorial dot maxit.com. This is what I'll be accessing the application at. Then we have the email. This is for Let's Encrypt. So um, everything is going to be done secured SSL with Let's Encrypt. But every time Let's Encrypt tries to secure this domain that you have, DHIS2.04, if it fails, it can send a notification to this email address that you put in here. So I would just put here admin at maxit.com. Now, if you don't have a domain name, you can skip this and this process here, modifying this setting the FQD and the email, all right, wherein you would have to access when the installation is done. You would access your DHIS2 instance using the IP address of the server. Then what I will change here is I'm going to change the time zone. The time zone is not Nairobi for me, it's in Freetown. So this is Africa Freetown. Okay. To see the different time zones, you can type in this command, time, dates, CTL, list time zones, and that will give you all the different time zones that you have available. Okay. So once we are done with that, we have to go again now. I want to install the latest. We're currently on, if we come to DHIS2, the version we have is this was released on 29th May, is 41.0.1, DHIS2 version 41.0.1. So that's what we're going to utilize. Now in here, we have in this configuration file, we have default set to version 40. So I'll change this to version 41. And yeah, the other configurations really that you need should stay the same. We are using postgres 16 here, using Apache, I think it's Apache 11. Sorry, the Java version should be 11, but all that is being handled in the backend. So this is just the configuration we need. Now for nano users, Control O and enter and Control X, then that saves your file, your host file. Okay, now that we have modified the host file, all what we need to do is to change into this directory and run the command sudo deploy.sh. So if we go to this directory and just list, we will see this deploy.sh that is there, which is we're going to run. Okay, so we have this script here, sudo /deploy.sh. We run that whilst we are in this directory. Okay, so if you do that, you sit down and go grab a cup of coffee, get some break, and come back, then everything should go as planned. It should all install, and you can access it using the FQDN domain name that you had set, right? So I would leave it to run, and once it's finished, I would come back. I will just fast forward it until the installation is done. Okay. Okay, wow. So this took almost around 20 minutes to for the installation to complete. Obviously, depending on the server that you are using, it might be more than that. I was just using 8 gig of RAM server. So what is key here is you would see all the services that have been deployed, DHIS, Postgres, and the proxies, the reverse proxies. So they are all up and running. So now if we go to our um, domain that we set up, let's see here. Hopefully it's works. So DHIS tutorial. Maxit.com. And voila, we have a new instance of DHIS running on Postgres 16, Tomcat version 9. You have Java 11 and the latest DHIS 2.41.0.1. So the first thing you have to do is, if you have an instance like this, now if you did not set the FQDN, the fully qualified domain name, if you did not set it, then you would have to use your IP address here instead of any domain name. So the IP address of the server is what you have to use. The default password is admin, the username is admin, and the default password is district. So the first thing that is recommended, as you log in, you make sure you change the password for the admin directly. So yeah, so this is our new instance of DHIS, and the version you will see here is 2.41.0.1. So we can go and change the password, go to the settings, and from the settings you would change the passwords so that somebody has to access it with the right permissions. If you just leave it like that, anybody finds it on the web, they are just going to use the default credentials, admin district, to be able to log in, and they can do anything. So I would come to account settings, and old password is district, and the new password is whatever password that you want to put in there. So I would just put that. Ensure you remember, write it somewhere, or you remember the password that you are using. So that is changed, and we can log in again with the new password. If you try to use admin district, that is not going to happen. So we can log in with a new password, and yeah, so that's it for the installation. If you like the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I would be bringing in some video tutorials on how to manage and administer DHIS2. Unfortunately, I've been extremely busy. I promise to bring once in a while these videos, but yeah, I've been extremely busy, doing other things. So but today, thank God, I had the opportunity to bring the tutorial to you guys. So I hope this helps you. If you face any challenges, please comment below, and when I have time, I'll be able to respond to those comments and probably guide you. A lot of people reach out to me via LinkedIn, and you can also reach out there if you have anything to discuss or any support that you need. So you can find me, it's Kenneth VS Coker KOKER. You can find me there on LinkedIn. All right. So yeah, that's it for now. Bye bye until then, next time.